Nonfiction and STEM fans, it's Kirsten Larson, author of A True Wonder, illustrated by Katie Wu. And today I'm here with another nonfiction or STEM book review. Today I am looking at A Seat at the Table, the Nancy Pelosi story. This is written by Elisa and illustrated by Laura Freeman. And I will be the first to admit, I really knew nothing about Nancy Pelosi before her speakership in the House, even though I live in California and she's from, representing the state of California. So I was fascinated to read about her journey to Congress. So the thing that I think is really cool about this book is that Elisa keeps coming back to this theme of a seat at the table. And it was at the kitchen table where Nancy Pelosi first had her experience of government and democracy and what it could do for people. So her father was Baltimore's first Italian-American mayor, and people would line up outside their house to come and speak with him. And so in the very beginning, she says, Baltimore's first Italian-American mayor saw himself in these strangers. Once a week, he would welcome them in, giving them a seat at the table. Those who were struggling suddenly felt seen. So the interesting thing about the way Laura Freeman illustrates this is you can notice that Nancy kind of starts in the background, and so does her mother. So she talks about the fact that her father was in government, but long after her dad went to work, her mom would stay home and listen to these people from all walks of life and their struggles. And so it wasn't really just from her father that she learned the importance of the table and having a seat at the table, but also from her mother. So, it starts out kind of in this domestic setting, and then through time, and again, like, notice how the women have these kind of smaller background pictures, and here's Nancy's dad, right, doing all this work. But she talks about all the work that her mom does, organizing meetings, stuffing envelopes, working to get him reelected. And so then Nancy has another transformative experience at a table. She's seated at a head table with President John F. Kennedy. And then she later hears his call to public service. And so that's when she really kind of starts thinking about her role in helping people have a voice at the table. And so in this really cool illustration, Laura Freeman starts to bring Nancy Pelosi to the forefront as she's doing some of the work that her mom, a similar work to that her mom did, until the day that a friend of hers who's deathly ill basically says, you need to run for office. And so it's at the request of a dying friend that Nancy Pelosi, who's a homemaker, staying home with her children, finally steps forward and takes the forefront, right? Okay, so the rest of the book talks about her journey, running, becoming the speaker, and I think it's really neat how over and over again Elisa comes back to this idea of the table and a seat at the table, and how important it is for people from all walks of life to have a seat at the table. Until she wanted a seat at the head table, right? She became the first woman to become Speaker of the House. That was the highest that any woman had risen at the time in federal government. And what a cool thing to show that anybody can do this. Anybody can have a part at the table. So anyway, a couple of notes on the back matter of this book. There's an interview. Elisa got to interview Nancy Pelosi. There's an excerpted interview in the back matter, and you can also find the full excerpt of their interview on their website. But I really love this because it asks Nancy Pelosi, how does she feel about having these naysayers, and people who may criticize her. And I love some of her advice. Don't pay attention to them. You can't. You just have to know your why and know how you want to help improve people's lives. And then Elisa asks her, what's her takeaway for this book? And she says, be yourself. Trust in who you are. Of course, it's nice to have mentors and people you admire, but authentically, you are you. Don't forget that. Know your power. So I think this is a really interesting read, not just, for finding out about Nancy Pelosi and some of the groundbreaking things that she's done in her life, but also just generally great advice for students to kind of tap into their superpower, figure out who they are, and then do what they're called to do no matter what.